I'm wondering if you could give a little bit of background here for anybody who's watching in terms of, what's the history of EA and CSP?
Thank you. That's actually a good segue, a good start here. So, when CSP came out, gosh, was it 2015? I think that's 2000, yeah, 15 or 16. Remember, we were all up in arms. Everyone was, oh, this is terrible, right? We have to actually start doing billing, and we're going to have to become a CSP provider. What does that mean? And I think back then, there was always this thing called the enterprise agreement or open licensing. Remember open licensing? But there's the enterprise agreement. And the enterprise agreement was really a way that Microsoft could, package and bundle all the on-prem SKUs, right? And then they started adding some of the cloud SKUs to it, right? And this was actually reserved for any company that was on the what's called major account list. Now, there's three different categories, but the major account list starts when a company has 500 seats or more, or there's a certain threshold in Azure consumption, right? And it's a major account, and then they're assigned an actual Microsoft rep. So typically, and the majority of all enterprise agreements are with companies that are 500 seats and above, and we'll go into the different classifications in a minute. But there's been a lot of history of channel conflict, with Microsoft, right, and partners. And I can't tell you how many times I've talked to partners where they're like, yeah, man, I don't even want to tell Microsoft what's going on because every time I do, they just swoop in and they just offer a super huge discount and I can never compete. Or they swoop in and they take the licensing. They swoop in and, they put us in a position where we can never discount as far as they want to because they'll put people on a 3-year agreement, right? Now, so that's channel conflict, right? And there's a lot of that. And even up to almost a year ago, there was a lot of channel conflict, but we've seen a lot of that really dissipate. And that's why I think this is really good to talk about just recently. But, for, Microsoft partners trying to work, some of the bigger accounts, they were always frustrated, right? We couldn't get the licensing, right? You couldn't get credit for all the work that you did. Now, the enterprise agreement was reserved. It was a 3-year agreement, sometimes a 1-year, 3-year, and Microsoft would then add support contracts to that, right? They could add support contracts and that's kind of an impetus of why people were buying these contracts 1, 2, or 3 years. However, I think Microsoft realized in the past 3 years that a few things. One, the channel conflict was really a bugger, but the enterprise agreement was never really designed for cloud consumption. It just wasn't for that SaaS product. It was really meant for basic, front end SKUs that are just, on-prem licensing and whatnot. And I think they realized that, and they decided, okay, we're going to go ahead and make this big transition, into let's just go ahead and do it to CSP. Let's do away with EA contracts. Now we've all been hearing about that forever. I remember even announcing this probably like 3 or 4 years ago, like, hey, EAs are going away. Get prepared, right? Now it's really here. And not only is it really here, there's actually mechanisms to actually do this whole conversion through Partner Center, which is nice because it isn't going to be, it's very interesting. And if any one of you have attended, there was two CSP, CSP training sessions by Microsoft in the past couple of weeks. They kind of went over this. And we have some slides today that we're going to do that. But the history really was, it was a pain in the butt. You couldn't compete. Right, and there's this whole set of accounts that you can only do services in, right? And now that has changed. So the real history is now, Microsoft realized that they're doing away with the EA. So moving forward, you can't renew your EA. If you're in 500 seats and above, you can't renew your EA. And I think it's going to be reserved for 500 seats to 2,500 seats for right now. The enterprise group of 2,500 seats and above is going to stay the same right now, at least for right now. They're doing away with it. And really, Microsoft wants all of their customers that are on EAs to transition to CSP, which is a huge opportunity. It's kind of like, if you think about it, it's like, we're behind a fence and there's this whole green field, right? And it's all of us, we're behind this fence, and all of a sudden Microsoft's like, okay, go. Now it's pandemonium. Well, not just yet, but when people start really understanding it, it will be pandemonium, right? Because holy smokes, there's this whole new deal reg thing that you got to be really careful. We're going to talk about that today. So being a part of this session today is going to be great because you're going to be like, yeah, okay, I know what to do. So that's really kind of the history behind it, and I think that if we look at this from a pragmatic point of view, this is a great thing for us and we want to get ahead. So we're going to give you some strategy today to understand how to get ahead of the game so that you can protect your current client base that's there. So that's a little bit about the history.
No, that's great. And you kind of went into the second piece, Sherman, because we were kind of thinking, let's talk a little bit about the primary differences. But based on what you mentioned there, I mean, it was really more exclusive for some of these larger clients, right? And it really seems this actually goes very hand in hand with, if you guys remember, over the last 12 to, last year and a half, the PDM group shrunk considerably. And then a ton of the Microsoft account teams that were targeting these smaller accounts also got phased out as well. So it really seems to me like Microsoft says, on these larger enterprise accounts, we're going to stay, we're going to be locked in, and we're going to be working with them directly. But partner base, it's time. You guys are going to take everybody in that SMB space. It's all yours. So I do think it is a massive opportunity. And it's all about aligning yourself appropriately. And we'll